You
You
think
know
they're
what?
real? You really
So real.
think that there are
So
people
real.
out there saying those exact things and that's where
Yeah.
you got it from. But
I think-
really, it's just from inside your own head. There is no such person out there saying
Hey.
those things.
Welcome to the Wild Roads. I'm Shona Lee.
And I'm Paula Ivy. Join us for conversations about how we don't do stuff normal.
How we choose the wild roads of life. We want to show you all that's fun and possible, building businesses, making money,
Navigating relationships and parenting, things we nerd out about.
and running at our wildest dreams.
Are we ready to start?
Yes.
Hello, welcome to the Wild Roads episode. I don't know what number, 13.
No,
I think it
I'm
might
not
be.
sure, actually.
Woo!
It's getting up there.
Okay, so as you can see, I'm inside of a blanket fort. I thought that I would try this situation to see how it affected the sound. But I did last night buy a microphone and some headphones. So next recording of the podcast should sound a hell of a lot better.
Yes,
what we've
yes.
been doing. We've done
Exactly.
okay for first time
We did-
newbies.
Exactly, for newbies. We'll
Yeah.
be OG before we know it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so before we jump into the podcast, I thought it would be really, really cool to share some text messages that I haven't heard Shona's and she hasn't heard mine yet. There's this really cool thing out on, I see it on Reels. There's quite a few people that do it out on the Reels on Instagram where they, and it might be on TikTok too, where they have the computer read text messages from their partner and it's like to inspirational music to make inspirational posters. So Shona and I thought that we'd read some texts out from our partners, my husband, Sean's faux husband, Simon, my husband, Brendan. We've both been with our partners for many years now, and we do have relationships that are amazing and full of love and excitement and wildness and all of the things.
Yes.
But dudes be
This-
duding, and they're very
Dudes
to the
be duding.
point. And they
Dude,
often
that's-
just
yeah.
say, like, straight up what they need. Because that's
Yeah.
how they work.
Yes.
Whereas
Far
women,
out.
well, usually when we're in our feminine energy more, we like to use the fluffy words and
Yes.
describe all the things, whereas
That's
they're just
right.
like, yeah, nah, cool,
To the point. Cool.
to the point. So
Yeah.
we thought we'll do something similar to start this one off. I'm going to play some motivational music and we're just going to take turns reading text from our partners.
Oh my God.
All right. Sean, you want to kick us off? I'll start the
Sure.
music
Let's do this.
to set the vibes. Okay.
Let's go. Let's go.
Go, Shona.
Okay, let's feel into this. Beautiful. The first one. Where do I find the salad dressing? The Asian one.
I got almost already. I'm sorry.
I'm getting hot.
Okay, Paula. Can you grab my jumper on your way back? Yeah, that was terrible.
All right. Babe, there's an iNet truck at the end of the street. Maybe do your lives on your phone data.
Can you please give us a 5 minutes warning before you're coming back? Want to make sure I'm not still in my PJs.
Oh, that's so cute. He wants to dress up for you. Okay, I'll keep going. Hey, babe, can you call me about the psycho thing? he meant physio.
I feel like, because I sometimes spell them wrong. Flat white, thanks. Smiley emoji.
Oh. Dog's rug is off and the washing is on.
Oh, oh God. I lost it already. Okay. Ready? What can I mash with? Because there's another potato mash.
Okay. You are the shit roll queen, baby. It's because I found some toilet rolls in the supermarket.
He's fist bumping you. Oh, because of the whole situation. Legit crying. Okay. Oh. Okay. Is that cupcake next to the kettle for me? He's so polite. He didn't want to eat it in case. Oh, hilarious.
I'm listening to punk playlist to try and find some more songs. He's in a new band. He's got to learn punk stuff. What's up, me lover? What's up, me lover?
Okay. Just checking. You're not going to that parent info night tonight, are you? He was checking so he could stay up.
Yeah, plans. Exactly.
I did not go.
No. Oh, that's cool. Oh. What else? Oh my God. All right, one more for me. Hey, babe, is my toolbox in your car? Because, yeah, carry your toolbox everywhere I go, babe.
just needed some tools.
Yeah.
Could you maybe bring my cat with you in the car? I might have helmet hair. Winky face.
A winky face.
I have one more.
Okay, do it.
No worries. Korean barbecue?
Oh, how to make friggin' fun in the mundane, hey.
How romantic are our partners with the text?
What's up,
They're
lover?
But they are amazing in the person. They do show us so much love in all of the ways. It's just so funny how text messages are usually just so blunt and to the point.
Oh, so much fun.
Funny.
Lucky we love them though. Sometimes the random stuff that comes out of Simon's mouth. Like last night was sitting on the couch and we've been feeling under the weather for the week and he has his new glasses on. I said, you look really sexy with your glasses on. He goes, you look really sexy without them. Thanks, mate. It's just I hope I don't need glasses anytime soon. Oh God, he's funny.
It's
the
so
shit they
funny.
say.
But it's just understanding that like the way that they communicate is their own language and just giving it time to understand, because we can, especially text messages, you can read them so wrong.
Oh yeah. And
get so offended by stuff and they're like,
yes.
what?
Yeah, exactly. Even when you know them so well, you can still like really like take that text message way the wrong way.
Oh yeah.
And I do get where people come from at the start when it's just like it's like no, or yep, that sounds great. and it's like, ooh, that was a bit prickly.
Did I do something wrong?
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's like,
They didn't use a whole bunch of fluff words to tell me, like, you know, the situation. They just said yes or no. And it's like, oh,
yeah,
have I made you mad? Did I do something wrong?
that's it.
Does he not love me anymore?
Exactly. But it's not even that. It's just that he's probably, you know, doing 3,000 things at once.
Oh, yeah.
But that was fun. That was really fun.
That was
Good work,
fun.
Tiger.
I cried.
I know.
I laugh, cried. That's one of the embarrassing, awkward things about me is that if something's super funny, I'll laugh until I cry.
Laugh. Yeah, do you? I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bust where I'm laughing and I've got a laughing face, like, but nothing's coming out because there's no breath. Yeah.
That happens to me too. Sometimes I laugh, snort too. And if I laugh so hard at something that I can't stop and I'm like laugh crying, what makes it even worse, because when that happens, I used to say to Brendan when that happened, I would be like, don't look at me. Like, don't look at me, because I'm like laugh crying. I'm like, oh, I'm laugh crying. Don't look at me. So now every time I do it, because we've been together for so long, he now says to me, don't look at me when I start to do it. I'm like, oh, no, it's making it worse.
It was interesting when we said, what will we discuss? And I did say to you, I said, I don't feel like I have any fears anymore. That stopped me. Yeah. And I was just really thinking about it, because I'm always saying yes to things because I don't have the fear around it. It's not true, because I was starting to think about things and it was just like, yeah, you know what, I do. This stupid ego or whatever, you know, jumps in, or there's imposter syndrome, or there's little things that creep in, and I will, it does stop me in my tracks. So what about for you?
I still talk a lot of shit to myself. Like, kind of like what we were saying about the text, and when you receive a text from, you know, your partner or your husband or your boyfriend or whoever you crush, and they're very direct and you can read it the wrong way. I know my husband so well now that, like, it's not that he's mad. If he's mad at me, he'll tell me that he's mad at me.
Yeah, that's right.
If something's wrong, he'll tell me that something's wrong. Thinking about how when I have an idea come through to create a new course, or when I'm wanting to increase my prices, or when I have a big wild dream that, you know, I'm going to start going after. It doesn't matter if it's like a relatively big thing or a seemingly small thing. There's still the shit talk that goes on. There's still that talk that goes on in my head that tells me stuff. It's just, I'm getting better at not listening to it. I'm just getting better at, like, expecting that to come up and then going, all right, cool. Now let's move on. You've had your say. But it also depends on what the thing is that I'm doing as well. Because obviously the bigger, bolder, braver the thing is, the more I might get those voices come up and say, you know, who are you to do this? You can't do this. You're crap. Nobody's going to want to support you in this. People are going to think you're crazy. You know, certain people will stop loving me because I'm going after this.
The reason why I just chuckled then. I just said people might think I'm a little crazy. I'm like, well, obviously there's no fear in you showing up under a little fort of blankets right now.
I do look a little bit crazy. I really do wish the roof in my fort was bigger, but but the chair situation that we've got here is not. I should have used the stools from the kitchen. Anyway.
You still look hot.
Anyway.
So, yeah, you're right. It's listening to the fears. It's actually facing them, hey. It's just like facing them. All right, what do you got to say? Those voices in your head, what have you got to say? I'm facing you. What do you got? Give it to me. And now moving on. You know, I think there's a lot of that now that we get to do, but then there's some that still hang on for dear life. And
there's certain ones that come up again and again and again and again. That's it. And you're like, dude, I dealt with you last time. Why are you popping up again? Because there's, you know, trauma attached to it, or there's deep wounds, or, you know, past experiences that have embedded so deeply into your being that sometimes they do need to come up quite a few times before they start to lose their sting, or before they start to be not a main voice anymore. So that was a really important point that you brought up, is that they need to have their time and their space for your awareness, so that you can start to shift them and move through them rather than trying to cover them up, a mantra or the complete opposite and trying to squash it with it. It's like you get to listen to it. You get to feel the power that's there, because as soon as you do that and you go, all right, cool, lay it on me, have your say. As soon as you do that, it starts to lose its sting straight away. I cannot remember who says this. As you know, I'm terrible at remembering quotes, but, you know, shining a light on fear or on shame, like that's how you dissolve it. It's not
That's right.
shoving it further into the deep, dark corner and trying to lock the door on it by covering it up with some better words. When people say, choose a better feeling thought, or what would I choose to believe instead, that all is great. But if you haven't given that fear or that shit talk the chance to really express itself and for you to feel it through your body, then you're just putting a Band-Aid over it, or you just, it's like a ball that you're trying to hold underneath the water. Eventually it's going to pop back up to the surface again. Whereas if you let it have some, the ball analogy is actually really good. If you let it, allow it to get some wind out of it, the ball shrinks and it's not as like, hard to, like, it's not as resistant to the surface of the water, and eventually all the air's out and then it will sink to the bottom and it's gone.
Yeah, you're right. And the thing is that some of these things that we're, you know, that's holding us back, or the fear or the self-talk, there's lots of different angles to it. And that's why it's really important to face it. You know, there's different elements, there's different angles. So you might think, okay, I'm not worthy of doing this thing that I want to do because people like me just don't have that luck, or we don't do these things. You can actually, you know, change it around, face it, and look at your worthiness. But often that's not enough. Often there's other parts of, like you said before, like shame. Often there's other emotions that are attached to it, not just one thing. Yeah. So that's why it's really important to face it, really important to sit in it. I cry with mine. I just like let it come on, like let it, it's not bullying me, but it's, I write it all down, all the things. What do you got? You know, what sorry about that. Doorbell. It's been locked down. I've got a delivery. You know, I've been shopping. I will let it have me. It's not bullying me, but I let it all out because I know that it will always come back if I don't let it all out. I will actually sit there until I feel like it's done. And then once I've released that, you know, it wasn't even as bad as what I was making it out to be half the time. I was like, seriously, what are you worrying about? But I totally get it. Like it can become very real, and it's very real in your body. Like even just like doing lives. I used to like be petrified to do lives. Like I'd get on and start shaking and somebody will pop up and I'd go press stop. Like,
can you hear me now? Shonally.
What is going on? I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? I'm going to sing to you. Shonally. Shonally. She can't hear me, but I'm singing to her anyway.
Talk now.
Hello.
Okay, we're back. Fuck me.
Massive technical dramas just happening for the past 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But we're back.
We're back, and that's the end of our episode.
And
thanks for watching.
We don't know where we what we were talking about before. So let's just start, even though when I edit this, I'm obviously going to cut a lot of that out.
Yeah.
But just so it makes sense for the people listening, we had some technical issues and now we're back, and that took so long that now we forgot what we were talking about because we're highly unprofessional professionals.
Yes, we are. That is true.
Oh, I remember what you were talking about. Live streams.
Oh, yes, live streams. Oh, that's what it was. Live streams. I used to be so scared. Like,
me too.
It was better if people didn't jump on. At the start, I was like, oh, good, I got away with that. So no one saw it. I could delete it if it was bad. I could delete it. And then I was really scared when people jumped on, and I was just like, I can't do lives. It's like I can't get on and tell my message, and sometimes things just wouldn't come out anyway. And And I realized I wasn't passionate about what I was talking about. So that was a thing. That was like, you know, it's like I wasn't really feeling into what my life's work was, what my soul work was. It's like I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. And so when I got to go on video or on a live, it's just like the universe just like, shush, 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 you're not doing it. You're not doing it. You stop it. My heart would pound. I'd get sweaty. And then when I started talking about the things that I absolutely love, my soul work, and it's just like I am making a living on the brick and mortar side, but not online by this at that stage. It was like, this is easier. But what are people thinking of me? Do I look all right? Do I sound all right? Am I as good as the leaders that I'm watching online? Can I be, you know, affluent? Can I be, you know, can I talk well? Like not right now, but
Can I talk good?
I had real hang-ups about being a novice. I had hang-ups about being a beginner. And why would people listen to me if I'm just a beginner? That sort of thing. So there was a lot to work through with that.
I totally feel you on that, because live streams were something that I was not comfortable with at all when I first started doing them. I remember the first ever live stream that I ever did. I was so awkward and I was so uncomfortable, and my heart was racing, and it felt like my body temperature had gone from like normal to like insanely hot in a split second. I was sweating out of every pore of my body. It was just like, it was not good. And I feel like you were onto something there when you were saying that it's harder when you are talking and doing live streams about things that you think you should be talking about instead of what your soul is actually wanting you to talk more about, because the fear of being a novice, being somebody who isn't a leader in that, and it's the parts of you that want you to talk about them, but at the same time you feel like, oh, but people are going to think I'm a weirdo. I don't know what I'm talking about. Or when I try to explain these types of things, it doesn't sound as good as what other people I see talking about similar things. A big part of it is really trusting your own voice and how it comes through for you is the way that you are here to deliver it, and just to trust in that. And it will grow and evolve over time. Like, give yourself a chance. The first live stream that you ever do, or post that you ever do, or anything that you ever do is not going to be, you know, the most amazing thing ever. I don't ever think that we do our absolute best. Like,
no, gosh, no.
It's something that we strive so hard to do. Like, I just do my best and I want it to be perfect. And we strive for this like idea of perfectionism, doing the best that we possibly can. And yeah, I do believe we can do the best that we possibly can in a situation at where we're at.
Yeah.
But it's never going to be like the absolute best. There's always room there for growth. There's always room there for new potential. There's always room to like tweak things up. But just being okay with how it comes out today, with what you're wanting to talk about, that is perfect. I think that is perfect for this moment right now. It's perfect for the people that are listening and that to hear what it is that you have to say. But it's not perfect as in I completely nailed the way that I said that. I don't ever have to say it ever again, because that was the most perfect way I could have ever articulated that or presented that. There's always room. And it's a perception too. So you might think something's amazing and somebody else will be like, meh. But then they hear it a different way and they go, that's amazing. And you're like, meh. It's all perception.
And there's also going back when you feel like you're going backwards as well. Like, there are lives where I'm like, how did I not give my best just then when I've been doing it for so long and they've been amazing, or, you know, in my head amazing, or what other people's perception was. But you go, that was really bad. Like, I was tongue-tied, I was fumbly, the message was just skewed, you know, and it's kind of like everybody has their funky days and it's okay. But we just make sure that it doesn't become a fear that we've lost our mojo, or we've lost our thing, or we've lost our voice, our message. and don't make it a fear that becomes real to stop you from continuing on. And I found that doing lives, keeping them there, even if they're not so good, it's almost like this is perfect because today I feel a little bit tongue-tied. I know I've got a foggy head and we're doing this podcast and we're, you know, pushing through and stuff. But I know it's not going to be, it's going to be shit from the rest, you know, for the rest of the time now. Like, you know, my lives are going to be shit. My message is going to be shit. Now that I know that pushing through anyway, you will have the funky ones and you push through that funkiness and they get better. Like, don't fear that it's never coming back because it always comes back.
Yeah.
Always.
Oh, yeah. Always. And I think also that when I actually spoke about this on a live stream the other day, and I was like, there's always voices running through my head whenever I'm doing anything. Like right now while we're recording this podcast, when I do live streams, all of the things. And I was saying it live, like I'm actually telling myself right now to be funnier, to make my energy more because this is boring. Like this would be boring for people right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what's going through my head right now. And it felt so good to actually share that because I was like, okay, let those words out now. And then it was kind of like this, like my energy kind of shifted a little bit and I felt like I was, you know, kind of relaxing more and being, you know, more entertaining.
More open.
And a bit more open.
Yeah.
So quite often when I am truthful on a live, like I'll say the things that are running through my head. It actually helps open up my energy more.
Yes.
So even if I say, I'm feeling a bit tongue-tied today, I feel like I'm not good with the words today. That's what the voice inside of my head's saying. Like, stop talking. You have no words. Just, it's not going to be good. Like, if you announce that and say that out loud, one, it's going to help like dissolve that because like what we were talking about before with the voices, instead of trying to squash them down while you're talking and trying to ignore them and like, shut up, I'll just get through this and then we'll deal with you sort of thing. Yeah. Like it's trying to hold a ball underwater while you're trying to talk. But if you just say, oh my gosh, I feel like I can't talk today. I'm feeling really nervous. Often I'll say, I'm just feeling a bit nervous with this live stream for some reason.
Yes.
Just even announcing that, even though I've been in live streams for 4 years now.
Yeah.
It's like I still have ones where I feel nervous.
Yeah.
I still do live streams where I feel like it's going to be crap. Like I still have voices telling me like, shut up. Nobody really cares what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
Those voices still come up. I'm just better at not trying to squash them and trying to avoid them and like actually allowing them to keep going and gnawing at me while I try to like resist against them. It's just like, okay, cool. I feel like that this is not going to be a very good life, but I'm just going to do it anyway. Let's just see what happens. Like it could be amazing. Who knows? We don't know until we go. Like just actually like giving it that light, it then starts to dissolve and you're like, see? I know you're there. I'm going to tell everybody that you're there.
I know.
And then it kind of goes, well,
that didn't work.
See ya. That didn't work. Yeah. So I found that to be really, really helpful because like actually. I still have live streams where I'm sweating out of every pore of my being.
Yeah.
And it's so funny when I have conversations with clients and they're like, you know, we talk about doing live streams. We talk about posting certain things. We talk about, you know, creating new products and new services that we haven't done before and the fears around and the voices, then the shit talk that comes up around doing that.
Yeah.
And by me sharing with them, I'm like, oh, yeah, you know, that thing that I launched last week, I was telling myself, like, nobody's going to want to buy this. This is crap. Stick to your lane, Paula. Like, whatever the things are that are coming up for me. And they're like, what? You tell yourself this stuff too? I'm like, yeah, all the time.
All the time, exactly.
All I do is I listen to it and I go, okay, cool, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's go.
I love that.
Like, just shut up and let's go.
Exactly.
Like, you can come, that's fine, but I'm not going to try and cover you up with nice words and things. Like, say what you want to say to me, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Damn straight. And sometimes it takes courage though. Sometimes it takes a bit like, I mean, like it to work up your courage. It takes time to work up your courage to do some things, you know, more than others. But it's like, look, you know, when you said before about, you know, stay in your lane, Paula.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, when people are finding their way online, and me, this happened to me as well. All I did online was interior design consulting. And for a very long time, and it was kind of like I can do that, but there's so much more, and we've spoke about that in the earlier episodes. But you know, now that I'm a coach in business, self and identity and stuff, and home, it's interesting that I had so much fear to transition into that. There was so much fear around that. People are going to be confused. People are going to say, who does she think she is? People are going to say, how would she know? What would she know? I mean, she's just an interior designer by trade. So what would she know?
She just tells me how to place my cushions. What would she
exactly.
know?
In the yoga pants room.
In the yoga pants room. But see, that's a reference to our first episode, FYI.
That's right.
If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. It was amazing. But that's the thing, right? That's you telling you those things.
That's right. Nobody. It's like, do you know what? I just made up so many stories in my head, and I believed they were real. Like,
you know what? They're real. You really
so real.
think that there are people out there saying those exact things, and that's where you got it from. But really, it's just from inside your own head. There is no such person out there saying those things.
I even had names for the people that were saying the things. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so intense where you just really get deep and you just go, that person's saying that. I'm like, no, they're not. You know, like that's what we try to stop. They're trying to put you back in that chair so you stay small and you don't ever get your desires. And it's interesting that when you stop believing it, when you quieten them down, or you give them no voice, no energy, like you said before when they said, yeah, that didn't work. It's interesting what comes after that. And it's just so much elation, so much liberation. But also there's forgiveness. There's forgiveness that comes with that as well in the past conditioning that you had, that you may have. You may have had people tell you when you're 8 years old that you couldn't do these things. You may have had a teacher tell you in year 12 that you're never going to be a photographer. You may have, all of that things, but we're too young to discern what's truth and what's not at that age. Yeah. Now, even when we do make up these little stories, we have enough life experience and maturity to actually, we can discern these things. We can switch the stories and push through them and quieten the voices. So sometimes when you're overwhelmed, when you're stuck in that overwhelm and you have these voices and they're really, really loud, that's hard. It's hard to push through. It's not easy. It's like, how do I quieten them down? They're stopping me, and I might be people pleasing, or I might be, I need to stay small. Just lots of things to work through. It gets messy, and we create mess inside our own minds, and the fear stopping us in the tracks. And I think, like we we're just saying, we don't have to stay in our own lane. Well, we can stay. There's two sides to that. Staying in your own lane, but pivoting, turning that lane, choosing to the direction of that lane can go anywhere you choose it to go. That's
the lane of you.
One. The lane of you, exactly.
Connecting back to who you are in this moment. That's staying in your lane, not boxing yourself into a niche, into a niche market that you think,
that's right,
I can only talk about this forever and ever now. And if I talk about anything else, nobody's going to love me anymore, and everybody's going to be confused and all the things. Because that's one of the things that when you do a lot of those business strategy, working online courses, that there's so many out there, a lot of them say, all right, the first thing is like, what is your ideal client avatar and what is your niche?
Yeah.
And for me, they're the two most like I get why people do it, and it works, I
do.
guess, for some
That's
sort of
right.
businesses when you've got a certain product or you're building something very specific for people. But when you're a personal brand and you're wanting to build a business around getting to be yourself and it being something that ever evolves and grows and transforms with you, that gets to be that nimble and not feel like you have to completely rebrand everything every time you want to launch something, because that's what it felt like at the beginning. I'm like, oh, I want to launch this now. It's completely different to the last thing that I did.
Exactly.
Now I have to completely rebrand everything and like go through this whole thing. No, it gets to be its own energy, but it's all a part of you. It all makes sense because it's all a part of you. So doing your ideal customer avatar and doing a niche is quite detrimental for people who want to build businesses in this way.
That's right.
Because
exactly.
it puts you in a box and then you feel like you can't get out of that box because you're building an audience with people that just want to see you inside of that box.
That's right.
You're not building an audience with the energy of this is who I am and we do a whole bunch of wild stuff over here.
Yes.
We go down this road and then we go down this road and we talk about this and we talk about this and we talk about whatever is lighting us up in this moment right now.
Exactly.
So
But nimble is my favorite word for self-branding, self-business. Like, that is just the best because you can be. There's absolutely, like you said, there's no rules. One way of doing business can absolutely work. It's just not our way. It's not how we do it. We're just a little bit wilder, you know.
You have to be wild, though. You have to be wild to be a personal brand.
You do. Yes.
But your own version of wild. Like, not my version of wild, not your version of wild. What your version of wild is, what your version is like of throwing caution to the wind and following what your heart desires and what your soul is calling you to do. And all of those beautiful images that you see in your head, I see that as your potential, not just something beautiful for you to daydream about and go, that'd be nice. It's like it's actually showing you what is a potential for you if you choose it. You don't have to choose it, but for the things that you see that you want to choose and you do, that's your potential.
Exactly.
So that's your kind of wild. And those images will look different for all of us.
Absolutely they will. That's very cool. And you know what? It's giving yourself permission to do things your way. But the other flip of the coin is don't be hard on yourself if it doesn't work. You know? If something doesn't work.
We put so much pressure on not failing.
Oh my
gosh. This has to succeed. If this fails, it's going to be the end of everything. I'm like, I've failed. Like I've lost count the amount of times that I felt like I failed.
Yes.
And this is the other thing, right? You could feel like an absolute failure at something and somebody else will look at it and go, wow, you did amazing.
Exactly.
Because
I wish
it's
I
your
could
perception.
do that.
Yeah, because you have some sort of perception around how long it should have taken you to do and you didn't do it in that time frame. That's a huge one. Is like, I failed at that because it didn't happen in this imaginary timeline that I thought it should have happened and it didn't. Whereas if you just let go of the timeline and just kept going until it was done, then you can't not fail.
I know, that's right.
That failure doesn't exist as much as what we think it does. There are certain things that, like, yes, you know, you could be Einstein and like trying to split atoms and blow shit up.
Oopsies. That's a little failure.
It's like, okay, well, that didn't work, but did you give up?
No. It's a gift because you just get to work a different way. You learn something.
It's like you think of all these little things as failures, but if you look at it in the big picture, it's like they weren't failures. They were just like him testing boundaries and knowing, like navigating which way to go until he got there.
Yeah.
You're the same. You are Einstein. You know what you're doing. Your genius is flowing through you. You've just got to hold the faith. And if something doesn't work out, go, okay, maybe not that way. Let's try something else.
It's interesting because that's what breeds the fear, right?
Oh, yeah.
And fear stops being in the past and it starts being in the anticipation of things.
Oh, yes.
You know?
So much.
And then it's like, well, I don't even get to fail anymore because I'm too scared. I don't even get the lessons of failure.
That is so true, because sometimes we let the voices talk us out of doing so much stuff that we don't actually get to try it because we fear the failure, so we don't even do it. So the fear is now in anticipation because we haven't actually done it and are doing it and like fearing what's going to happen in the process. You haven't even started the process.
That's it.
Like it just goes to show how powerful our minds are. And if we let our minds just run circles around us, we will have all these amazing inspired ideas, but never actually do anything with them because we're just listening to, you're not good enough. You're not like that person. You don't look like that person. You can't do this. Stay in your lane. You don't know what you're talking about. You never finish anything and you won't finish this. Like whatever the voices are, you're like a bull at a gate and you won't think things through, and then you'll do something dangerous and reckless and you'll publicly humiliate yourself, or this used to be a huge one for me. It comes up every now and then and I just giggle now when it comes up. It's like, you could go to jail. Like if something happened and I don't know, you were like arrested for fraud, or like you accidentally like somebody accidentally did something in the present, like you know, you could go to jail. You could really hurt someone. Like you could like literally you could die. That was one that came up before we did the Big Lap of Australia. Like I had a fear that we could actually die. I'm like, there are so many circumstances that could happen. We could get, you know, somebody could get bitten by a poisonous snake. We could drive off the edge of a cliff. We could bog our car somewhere and not be able to get out and run out of food or water, and nobody would come and find us because there was no reception and we couldn't call anybody. Like there was like so many of that. Somebody could get eaten by a crocodile. Oh my gosh. It was like there was so many things that kept saying you could die in this way, you could die in that way. And then it was kind of like I had to take a breath and I'm like, what is the actual like chance that could happen to us? Like what is the actual, like how many people have actually died from that specific thing that I'm thinking of right now? Like crocodile deaths. Barely anybody.
I know.
Like I know people have died from I'm not going to walk through croc-infested waters, although I did.
Oh my God, you are wild. Far out. Did you know?
Oh my God. Okay, I've got a story to tell.
Okay.
So seeing crocodiles in the wild was a really big thing for us before we traveled Australia. I was like, they are ruthless and, you know, 2 snaps and you're gone. Like they are in like these massive aggressive things, right?
They scare me so much.
Yeah. I mean, this was before traveling and I didn't really know the difference between a salty and a freshie. Now I know that. But also when we did Cape York, which is in Queensland, it's like the very tippy top of Australia. It's like the most northern part of Australia that you got to go through Cape York to get there. On the
east, yeah.
On the east coast of Australia, yeah. So all the way up the top end of Australia, there are crocodiles in the waters. You can't go swimming in pretty much all of the beaches. And there's certain like water holes and creeks and stuff you can swim in, but there's certain ones that you can't. You've got to be very careful about making sure there's no croc signs before you're about to get in the water. Know your areas. And if you aren't sure, don't go in. Those sorts of things. Like it was very much something that I felt little educated about because I had never had to think about crocodiles before in my life living in Sydney.
You don't live near them. Yeah.
No, but then moving into crocodile territory, it was kind of like, okay, cool. We actually have to be wary of crocodiles. We have to be careful about where we go. We have to be careful at times of day. We need to be careful, like all these things. And especially having small bite-sized children, that was awesome.
Yes.
Like,
Ouch.
oh
God. I would have had, nightmares.
So we were going up Cape York and there's a lot of crocodiles up Cape York. And we were doing the old tally track, which you can drive up the main road. It's still corrugated, so it's still a bit of a rough ride up to the top.
Full drive.
Yeah, but we went the old tally track, which is river crossings and going over big boulders and in ditches and through mud. And we've still got mud stains on the inside of it.
That's cool.
From Cape York.
Nice.
Anyway, there was this one crossing. It's the crossing up Cape York called Gunshot. And it's pretty much you drive your car.
I'm nervous.
Vertical like this like seriously down like this and then out like this. So it's kind of like you go with your car.
Oh, that's scary.
And it's all mud. And when we were there, it was muddy. It could be dry sometimes. Sometimes there's water at the bottom. There wasn't when we were there. But it's slippery, it's muddy, and that's usually the one that people like mess up their cars with. And then just after there's this creek that you got to swim through, drive through, and then have to go up to keep going on the track. So there is a creek crossing at the bottom there. Right next to Gunshot, there is what's called a chicken track. So you don't have to do the main one. But we did the chicken track, right? Because we were watching people go through Gunshot, and like car after car was just getting messed up. And we're like, we're not doing that to our car. No. But the chicken track at Gunshot is still pretty insane. It's still pretty much driving your car down like this. It's just where it evens out at the bottom is not as severe, right?
Yeah.
So it was still a very hectic looking track that we had to go down. And so the one time out of the whole of going up Cape York, both the kids were asleep in the back of the car. And I was looking at this and I was like, are you sure there's not like a third way that we can just like drive around all of this and not actually do either of those? Up. And they were like, oh no, we would have had to turn back there. Let's just do this one. And we're with a few other cars. So they're like, yeah, we can do it. It's all good. And we're like, all right. I looked at Brendan though, and he said, yeah, you guys can't be in the car just in case though. And I was like, fair enough. So here I am.
Good on you, Brendan.
I know. What a
so
guy.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I know. So he got us out of the car, and so I'm standing there with, how old were they at the time? A 5-year-old on one hip and a 3-year-old on the other hip, both half asleep, like on me. Aww. And I'm standing at the edge of this creek and about to watch my husband drive our car, pretty much like half of our possessions, because we had our car and we didn't take our camper up there, but like, you know, driving the thing that's getting us around Australia.
Oh, my God.
Down this vertical descent. And he did it brilliantly. And it was like, he mastered it. There wasn't even I think there was like a tiny scratch on the front bumper of the car.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
He nailed it. Like,
nice.
Huge props to him.
Good
He
job,
nailed it, right?
Brendan. Yeah.
I know. But after you go down, like, you can't stop. You got to keep going. So he keeps driving through the creek and up the other side and then park there. So then I'm standing there with both of my kids in each of my arms, half asleep on me, kind of complaining that they want to go back in the car so they can fall back asleep. And I look over and I'm like, there's a sign saying crocodile sighting 3.5 meters 1 week ago. And there was all these guys standing around like that were camped at this particular spot because they just loved watching people go through this one gunshot.
Right.
They're like,
like
they were standing around with beers, they were just watching it, cheering people on and like helping if anybody needed help, sort of thing. They were cool.
That's cool. I'd love to do that.
There's all these guys standing around. And I looked at them and I said, have you guys seen the Crocs since this sign was posted? And they're like, nah. And I'm like, that was only a week ago though. And they're like, yeah, I don't know. We've come after that and we haven't seen it. I'm like, oh, I've just got to walk through this with my 2 kids. I'm not feeling confident. I'm like, can you guys walk with me? So then I had like a group of guys, of men. I think I had about 5 men just walk like around me that walked me through this creek.
How beautiful.
And I was like, oh, you guys are the best. Thanks. And they're like, yeah, whatever. Like, they were kind of like, yeah, whatever. Like, it's not coming back. But they were like, yeah, you're right. You're good. All good. Right. Like, they were really helpful and whatever. But at the same time, they're like,
good story.
You don't need to be worried. We haven't seen it.
Yeah. No,
but it's like crocodiles are very good at being stealth.
Oh,
like, their whole thing is like, you're not going to know I'm coming. So that's why they're terrifying. So
anyway, they've had some beers.
Yeah.
they're not looking for crocodiles when you've had some beers. They think they can ride it when they find it.
The crocodile cowboys. But anyway, huge shout out to those guys for doing that. Yeah, that was amazing for me.
I love men like that.
And so beautiful. it was just hilarious that my husband was like, I made it, as he's like driving past. He's like, whoa, like this. And then I'm left standing there. I'm like, and now I have to walk through a creek that had a crocodile, like a 3.5 meter salty in here, like a week ago.
I think you did the bravest thing. You won that round, just saying.
But ever since I did that, even though I don't recommend walking through somewhere that has had a croc in it, like a croc that could potentially have a crocodile, I'm not
do this
advocating
at
that
home.
at all.
No.
But it was kind of like a situation where it's like, this is the only way to keep going. Like, I can't just stand here.
That's it. Yeah.
Because you've got to keep going that way. The track doesn't
That's right.
you can't actually do the track in reverse. You have to go the one way. So I'm like, I have to go through
breath.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anywho.
That was a great story.
After doing that, there were so many instances where we were in positions where things could potentially go very, very wrong. But I'm like, I walk with crocodiles. Like, we do hard crossings in our car and we've survived. Like, we had that evidence to be like, we can do things that have a risk, but nothing happened. Like, we were successful at that. So I think the more that you do those things in your business and with the work that you're wanting to do that scare the living bejesus out of you, and you've got all these potential, like, this could go wrong and this, like, I could go to jail if I did, like, said the wrong thing and I did something illegal and I didn't even know. Like, that's one of my fears is, like, I'll do something wrong and I wouldn't even know it. And then they'll be like, nah. You know, those sorts of things. The more that we take risks and do the things that our soul is calling us to do, the more evidence you will have that you didn't die, that you didn't get in trouble, that people actually liked it, that it still made you money anyway, that it's still, like, whatever the thing is, you'll start to have more and more evidence. The bad things don't always happen.
That's right. The fear never not comes back, but it dissipates a lot quicker. The more you move through that, it just goes a lot faster, and sometimes it's seconds, you know. And just keep going, and it's actually quite thrilling. It's almost an adrenaline rush in the end.
It's kind of addictive,
isn't it? I like it.
With the crazy eyes. Not that you can see the crazy eyes on the podcast, but you can if you watch this on YouTube. FYI, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not already. We are putting the video episodes of these up on there, which are highly entertaining because I'm very expressive with my face, and you can see me laugh cry.
Paula's very expressive. She's very expressive. It's hilarious. Oh my gosh, it's so fun. I love that. That was a really cool convo because, it was, I loved it because when you said, let's talk about fear, like, you know, like what we go through now, and I'm like, I don't have any fears anymore. And it was just like, wow, yes, I do. It was good to bring some stuff up. That was cool.
I love it. Yeah, because they still come up. And this, I think,
they do.
This is something that working with clients and, you know, helping them to do this work as well is that they assume, and this, I used to assume this too, there'll become a time where all this stuff that makes it hard goes away and it's just easy and it just, you know, you just kick your shoes up and relax and it's all good and I don't have to do my mindset work and I don't have to work on my fears and my beliefs and blah. It's like, no, actually it requires more of that, if anything. It's just that you become more aware of when it's required.
That's
and
right.
You're like, oh, hang on. Something's feeling off. Let's do our mindset work. Let's, like, you know, let's get on top of this before it spirals into something that I feel like I can't dig myself out of. And then that's when I used to take weeks to be able to, like, build myself back up again to be like, okay, cool. Now I've got this. Whereas now it's kind of like, oh, here it is. Hello. Okay, let's deal with you and let's move on because I'm going to do it.
Let's make you a cup of tea and then we'll go. We'll have a chat and then then we'll move on.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this was amazing.
It was amazing. Don't let fear stop you doing anything you want to do. Just celebrating the other side.
Do it. You can do it.
Yes. Go on.
Listen to your fears. Work through them and then do it anyway. Okay, I'm really crap at making up songs.
You know what? You did good. This was the best one because you kept me going. I could not articulate myself for the life of me. This is when we first started this. and then we had all that disruption and then it was just like, oh, now I'm in the flow. Okay, now I'm in the flow. Now we're good. We're good.
Sean kicked in.
It kicked in. So don't give up. If I had given up, I would have just, like, another week would have passed and I would have kicked myself for the rest of the day. I would have been hard on myself.
So that's the thing. Sometimes it is like yes, give yourself a break from time to time and like
Mm-hmm.
take the day off or do whatever you need to do. If it's feeling really hard and overwhelming, that's totally okay. But at the same time,
Of
think
course.
about, really feel into and ask yourself, if I don't do this now, is it going to make me feel even more tired, even more stressed, even more lazy that I didn't do it?
Exactly.
Or is the rest going to do me good and I'm going to come back firing? Like, that's the thing, because sometimes we go, oh, I feel too tired. Yeah, I won't do work right now because it won't be very good. But then you rest and you feel even worse afterwards because you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I really wish I'd done that thing. And now it's still playing on your mind. It's still like, I still got to do that thing and I don't want to do that thing. It's a lot of mental energy.
There is. And now my energy has shifted big time and I'm just like, right, I've got a post. I've got a post coming. It's going to be good.
Yeah. She's got it coming.
Yes, I'm back. I'm back. Coolio.
All right. We'll see you next week on
See you next week.
Wild
Roads.
Wild Roads.
Dun.
Wild Roads.
Wild Rose! Wild Rose!
Wild Rose.
Wild Rose.